Hello and welcome to a new Vanguard Zero video. You may be wondering why I'm on this home screen rather than the Card Capital 2 one, and that's because of two things. I want to remind you of something, but then also check something myself. So obviously today's video is going to be talking about the thing in the bottom left corner there, the new event. I haven't done much research into the event myself, but I have been playing it for the day or so that it's been out now. It's been out for a bit less than a day, I'd say around 12 hours-ish as of time of recording. And I've been playing a little bit of it, and I've played so much of this game that I've definitely figured a few things out. So we're gonna kind of be talking about this event and how it works. I don't know how commonly known a lot of this stuff is, but I'm just going to talk about it anyway, right? So first of all, the thing I wanted to remind you of is I haven't fully graded up all the way in the OG Vanguard Card Capital 1 yet, and that's my plan, right? Obviously, anyone who's familiar with clan events in Vanguard Zero knows that they work based on stamina and character fights, and of course, grading up does indeed help give you stamina because it resets every time you grade up so that you can do more character fights. Obviously, the obvious thing to do is to grade up in Card Capital 2 because both Card Capitals have different grading systems, but I also wanted to remind the people like myself who haven't fully graded up yet in Card Capital 1 to do so now whilst there's an event going on. So the thing I wanted to check is whether or not the old character fights give out the tickets you need. So let's go ahead and check and see if they will. Yes, they do. Okay, cool. So that's nice. Yes, I still haven't done the hardest, whatever. So that's good. So you can still do the old Card Capital 1 character fights and still get the event tickets. That's good. Take advantage of that. I clearly haven't been. But if you're specifically going for the Nova Grapplers, because this is the current event, then go ahead and do the character fights in Card Capital 2 for Nova Grapplers, and also once you've done all of the harder difficulty, like the 5-a-day character fights for Card Capital 2 for Nova Grappler, go and do them here too, especially these normal fights, right? Because these normal fights are not limited by the amount of times you can do them per day. You can do them an infinite amount of times per day, potentially, and it gives you the medium rush orbs, like the crafting material, whereas you can't get those on Card Capital 2 unless you do the limited character fights. So there's another strategy right there that you're probably going to want to take advantage of. Because that's one of the things, let's switch over to Card Capital 2 now, because that's the thing that's really cool about event clans that they've added now, and I love this change. You can character fight the clan directly, both in Card Capital 1 and 2. So you can just grind for crafting materials. Obviously, you know, it's going to be a lot easier to get some of the more expensive cards, mainly the GR, via the event itself, but there's no real time limit because other than the starting Vanguard, so, you know, the grade zeros you start with, everything else you can just craft, right? You know, obviously you don't want to craft the GR because the GRs are so expensive, but potentially if you just get, like, the GRs you need, which you don't even need all 4 of them, you need, like, what, 3 of them at most? Maybe? You could probably make a pretty good deck with just 2 of them, honestly. But yeah, you just need to get those and the starting Vanguards, which are so cheap that they basically give them for free anyway. And then you can just, once the event's over, just keep doing the character fights for both this and the Card Capital 1 Nova Grappler fights. So already, just from that one change, this is my favorite event clan so far because of that change. Previously in the past, with like Neo Nectars, for example, or Spike Bros, you couldn't character fight the clan directly, which meant you had to do the event to get the cards. There was no way of crafting them other than by doing the event, opening the packs they gave you, and then getting duplicates and using it to craft what you want. Whereas now you can just craft the card you need directly, which is so good. So, yeah, so basically, obviously, you're trying to get your stamina up. This is something you're very familiar with. Obviously, you can do the Card Capital 2 Fighters Quest to get your G grade up, as I mentioned earlier. I'm not in a massive rush to do that. I've just been kind of taking it at my own pace. I'm at grade 10, so I'm doing pretty well. Also, something I didn't mention earlier, do the story. In the original like Card Capital 1, you had to like the story missions like matched the grade you were on. You would have to get to certain grades to be able to do the story missions. But with G, it seems like you can just do all of the story missions that are currently out. So they've got 2 chapters worth of story missions, and you can just do all of them, like right now. And there's no real limit. And they give away Generation Strike packs and other good stuff too. So do those if you haven't. Because I'm imagining there's got to be at least a couple people in watching this video that have completely forgotten that the story mission's even a thing. So do those. Also, whilst I'm at it, this doesn't have anything to do with the event. Go back to Card Shop 1. Do the hard mode fights. Yeah, so this is the story mode screen on Card Capital 1, right? And if you go on change chapter, you can do hard mode fights for the older chapters, right? And just go through them. And they give away a lot of good stuff. They give away like gacha tickets and gems. And the cool thing is, the game has been power crept so hard, like with the strides and the new heal triggers and everything. There's been so much power creeping in the game. You can basically just auto fight all of them and freestyle everything and just immediately win. And trust me, it may only give like 1/10 of a gacha ticket and 10 gems, but those rack up very quickly. So now we're on the event screen, finally, 6 minutes into the video. So, okay, here are the fight skins. So these fight skins, right now we've got the boost skin is Shion. And what that means is if you use a deck with Shion as the skin during your fights, then you will get an extra percentage of the currency for this event. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you to basically ignore this, right? So last night they had Chrono as the boost skin, and everyone has Chrono. They give you Chrono for free as the generic Gear Chronicle one. So when Chrono is a boost, use him, right? And if you already have Shion or Mamoru, then absolutely use them too. But don't bother getting them if you don't already, especially if it's just for the boost. Because the skins in G are ridiculously expensive. They basically only give you one so far for free. I've only got one of those like G skin medals that I was given for free for grading up. And then the rest you have to pay for, and they're like $30 or something ridiculous. So don't bother. You may think you're benefiting by getting the skins. And hey, if you want to spend money, go ahead and spend money. Do whatever you want with your money. I'm not one to judge. But it's not an efficiency thing. You do not get £30 or whatever worth of like grinding materials for this event. It's not worth it unless you really, really want that skin. So just basically ignore that. That's basically just their way of tempting you to spend real money on a skin whilst making it seem like they look nice and are being friendly to you by kind of disguising it as like a bonus, quote unquote. So just ignore that unless you already have the skins that are applicable. So let's go into the ranking. So I'm below 3001 at 7000 CP. High 50, of course it's 50 cards at number 1. Of course it is, you know, I'm not even surprised. But yeah, so how many do you need to get in the top 100? 73,000. Yeah, okay, I'm not even doing that. And then you can see the amount of packs and stuff you get. You have to become in the top 3,000 to get a gacha ticket, so you've already decided whether or not you're hardcore enough to go for that. I probably am not hardcore enough to go for that. I don't particularly care. In fact, it does make sense it would be 50 cards, because he mains Nova Grappler, doesn't he? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So let's now look at the limited exchange, because that's kind of like the other main thing to go into. So this is your like gift, like this is the shop for the event. So you're grinding this currency, and you play the event to get the currency, right? And then once you get the currency, you can spend it on cards. And then the idea is you want to spend it on cards to get the event. So you see these common cards, right? don't exchange them. Not worth it. Just craft them. That's the thing I was mentioning earlier, is you can craft the cards. You don't have to go through the event. Obviously, it's easier to craft and play the event both at the same time. But for stuff like commons, just craft them. However, for these, so this is a starter Vanguard, and then there's one other starter Vanguard in there. You want to exchange those. Those should be the first cards that you're exchanging for. And because you can't, the starter Vanguard cards are counted as promos, so you want to exchange those. I know, like, there's two of them and one's better than the other, but you may as well exchange for both of them because they're so cheap. Like, it's 60, and you get way more than 60 just from your first fight, so just get them. After that, my recommendations would basically be to go for the GR, victoplasma, and go for the triple rares. And then until you've got, like, everything you need from those, don't actually get any of the lower rarities, because it's probably easier to just craft them by doing the character fights. So stuff like the Sentinel. Plus, remember, Nova Grappler has a lot of cards. Like, the chances are, even if you don't actively play Nova Grappler, like, I've never had Nova Grappler be a deck that I've actively played, really. I've still collected and accumulated so many Nova Grappler cards throughout my time playing. Like, let's look at this PG, right? When Vanguard's hit, you lose if you do not guard, and its guard is activated. In addition, if you have a cyclone in your drop zone, counter charge 1. So, yes, it gives you an extra counter charge, which is better than the other Sentinels, but chances are you already have a playset of Sentinels anyway, so I would say go for that one later. You know, like, that's not more important than any of these triple rares, for example, like Victor, who you're going to want a playset of. And of course, bear in mind that for the triple rares and GR, the first one you get for half price, so don't look at the price of them and go, wow, they're being really generous of how cheap these are, because no, after you've already bought one, then they get more expensive. So victoplasma is the one you want to go for, but honestly, at least from the event anyway, because it's not worth crafting GRs. You pick one clan, your favorite clan in the entire game, that's the clan you're allowed to craft GRs for. No other clans. For me, that's Angel Feather. For you, that's going to be your favorite clan. So unless Nova Grappler is your favorite clan, do not craft GRs for it, because GRs are so expensive, you're only ever going to be able to craft, like, a couple every handful of months at most. Like, they're so ridiculously expensive to craft. And honestly, again, you're gonna want to get your victoplasmas from here, because whilst that's a lot of this event currency, it's totally doable. These Nova Grappler medals, because you get a lot. Like here, for example, I get 900 for this next fight, and that's quite a lot. This is one of, like, the bosses, like the clan fight thing, where that they make you do. You can't use the skip tickets on it, but it's still, like, pretty good, you know, like, and you will accumulate a lot. Like, for example, they throw a lot of these skip tickets at you, and you get a lot of the tickets that allow you to fight from stamina grinding, so that's another thing too. So basically, honestly, I quite like this event. Like, we'll see how it goes. But I think this is a really good way of handling it. I heard something about the fact that, like, in JP, like, they had a better version of the event, basically, and then it got nerfed with future events, and we're getting, like, the nerfed version that's more expensive to grind for. But even then, I still think it's doable. And for a free-to-play person to complete this deck relatively quickly, and that's just if you do what I mentioned earlier, and only do Nova Grappler character fights. I think if you do that, whilst also spending all the stamina and all of the tickets you get on these, you'll get the deck pretty quickly. And remember, as I mentioned, you accumulate a lot of Nova Grappler cards just by playing the game during the previous months naturally anyway, and so you're going to be able to fill in those holes with your deck pretty quickly. One thing I've noticed while grinding in ranked mode anyway is that not that many people have fully completed decks. You know, like the second most popular clan I've seen on ranked mode is Gear Chronicle, the first being Kagura, of course. And Gear Chronicle is a brand new clan, and so a lot of people don't have finished decks. They're running, like, weaker or more generic cards, like the generic strides and stuff. You know, they only have a couple copies of Chrono Jet Dragon, and so you can beat those decks with a unfinished Nova Grappler deck that has like triple rares from older sets and stuff thrown in to fill the gaps. It's definitely doable. Obviously, my same advice from earlier applies. Run 8 strides no matter what, because that's the upper limit of the amount you can. If you have to fill spaces, which you will have to fill spaces with the generic strides, and obviously run the heal triggers, for the love of God. Those grade 0 heal triggers, so far from my experience, every deck benefits from them because they give you the extra guard. Pretty much every game I've played has come down to how many heal triggers and sentinels someone has in their hand. That one heal trigger can save a game. And yeah, that's basically all I really have to say, really. About the event so far. I'll keep you updated in future as to like how much of the deck I managed to build. My thought process here is I'm not going to spend anything on it, right? So you can spend gems. In fact, honestly, it looks like you don't even need to spend very many gems to get quite far in the event. So remember, spend gems on stamina so that you can character fight even more, so that you can get tickets, so that you can keep playing the event more. That is definitely something that I recommend if you're someone who really wants to build the Nova Grapplers. Remember that when you do enough of the Nova Grapplers character fights, you can do like the story things with the keys, just in case you forget. And that's basically all I really have to say. Like, yeah, I'm gonna play as much of the event as I can, realistically. I'm gonna spend all my stamina and everything to do character fights. I'm not gonna spend any gems, saving those for Neo Nectar still. But if I can build like a pretty decent Nova Grappler deck that I'm happy with, then hey, I'll definitely run it. Because right now I'm still playing a fairly like kind of duct taped together Kagero deck that's like half the G cards and half like old triple rares and stuff, you know. And I'm doing okay, honestly. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Nova Grappler clan event. Obviously, a lot of what I say here is going to apply to future clan events. I know there's like a Narakami one and a Dimension Police one coming soon. At least that's what happened in the Japanese version. And I'm imagining a lot of my thoughts here are going to apply there as well. And also, you know, do research into what happens in the Japanese version. That's always very useful because then you can plan ahead. So yeah, that's been this video. Let me know what you think of the event and whether or not you're going to be building this Nova Grappler deck. If I manage to build something decent, I will show it off in future for sure. But that's not a promise because I don't know how many of the cards I will be able to get. And remember, for every statement, there's always an asterisk. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that other great stuff. And I will see you later.